Hey, what's up guys? My name is Saurav and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we are on the second module of data pre-processing technique, and in the second module we are going to learn different techniques for variable encoding. And if you want to know the full detail of this course, you can watch the first video of this playlist. And by the way, I'm happy to share that I have created another YouTube channel by the name Static Life, which is going to be all about me. And I have uploaded the first video there, and I have talked about my journey from chemistry to data science. And also, I have shared few tips as well that may help you in your journey of data science. So please feel free to watch it and subscribe to that channel as well. So today we are going to talk about ordinal encoding. In the first part, we will go through the concept. Basically, we will learn the theory. And in the later part, we will try to deep dive into the coding part where we will implement it on actual data. So let's get started. So in this technique, we assign a numerical value to the unique values of the variable. So for example, here we have height column and it takes three values. Or we can say that the cardinality is three. That is tall, medium and short. So here we are given the variable. Now to apply the ordinal encoding, the first thing we need to know is how many unique values we have. And here we know that it has three unique values. Next we assign a numerical value to it. So in this case we are assigning short equals to 0, medium to 1 and tall to 2. And then finally we replace these string values with the numerical values that we have assigned. Now here we need to understand that these numerical values have some mathematical order, and that is something we are leveraging in this technique. Because we know that even in categorical variable we can have orders, just like in height column we have this order, that is medium is greater than short and tall is greater than medium. So why not leverage this thing, and that's the whole idea behind ordinal encoding. Now let's talk about the types of ordinal encoding we have. So there are mainly two types of encoding. The first one is arbitrary encoding and the second one is based on business logic, or you can say there exists some kind of order. Now let's understand these two types of technique by using an example. So here we have a grade variable and it takes values like A, B, C and D. So in case of arbitrary encoding, we assign numerical value to the unique values of grade arbitrarily. We don't do anything, we don't do any kind of analysis. It's just random. So here A is taking 4, B is taking 2 and C is taking 1 and D is taking 3. So basically here we are not using any business knowledge, or you can say business logic. We are randomly assigning the values. And most of the time we won't be using this type of encoding. Now next we have encoding based on business logic, or you can say ordered encoding. And now the orders may or may not be continuous. It entirely depends upon the business logic. Now let's understand this technique as well. So let's say this is a grade variable represent the quality of a product, where A means excellent, B means average, C means bad and D means very bad. So based on our knowledge, we know that A is going to be better than B and so on and so forth. So based on business understanding, we assign 4 to A, 3 to B, C to 2 and D to 1. And by doing this, we are expecting that model to incorporate this knowledge that A is greater than B and so on and so forth. And finally, we are making change in the actual variable. And most of the time, we are going to use this type of ordinal encoding that is based on business logic. So now let's understand the advantages of this technique. The first thing is that it is very simple to implement and there is no data loss. It does not increase the dimensionality of the data. That is, it does not create some additional columns, which means we can keep the data as it is. And also it modifies the data without losing the information. It just, we have to be very careful. And it can be used for both classification and regression problem. Now let's talk about the disadvantages of this technique. Now the only drawback is we have to be very careful about the technique, because if a variable does not have any kind of order in it, and if we apply this technique, we will end up bringing irrelevant information in the data which will hamper the accuracy of the model. So for example, we have a gender column and we try to encode it using this technique. We may end up introducing something like male is greater than female or female is greater than male. I mean, this kind of information is generally we should be avoiding. So make sure that you don't use this variable encoding technique in any kind of data or variable where we don't have any kind of order. So that's it for the theory part, and if you have any doubt, let me know in the comment section. So let's jump to the Jupyter notebook and implement this technique in Python on an actual data. So here we are in the Jupyter notebook and I have imported all the libraries required, although we can use a sklearn module as well to implement this technique. But we are not going to do that, and most of the time you will see that people avoid using sklearn for the implementation purpose. I mean, it is just that I have seen very few people using sklearn module for ordinal encoding, and we are going to perform both kind of encoding, namely arbitrary encoding and based on business logic. So let's get started. First we have to import the data which we have been using from the beginning, and you can also find the link for this data set in the description box. And here we can see data as well. And here you can see that we have imputed the missing values, and if you don't know about missing values technique, I have a separate playlist. Feel free to check it out. So the first thing we are going to do is to sample the data set, and in this data set we have categorical column and numerical column as well. And here you can see that we have 3 categorical column and 2 numerical one. Now let's create a list of categorical variables. So if you have been following my video series, I generally create a list of variables and then apply a function using loop, because that's the fastest way of doing things. So same thing I'm doing here. Next, we are going to create a function that will implement the arbitrary encoding for us. So we are going to name this function ordinal mapper, and it takes data and the variable name. So inside the function, we are creating a dictionary, namely ordinal map, where keys are going to be unique values of categorical columns, and values is going to be the numerical values that we are going to assign. So here we are just keeping the unique values and assigning the numerical values to it. And this kind of code structure, you are going to see it a lot, and the numerical values will start from 0 here. And again, we are not going to do any kind of analysis here. We are just continuously assigning the values, and that's how arbitrary encoding works. Once we have the dictionary, we are just using the map function of pandas and mapping the values from the dictionary to the actual column. And also we are going to print out the dictionary to see which values are assigning what values. Next, we are copying the data because at the end of the day, we have to implement another technique. So just to make sure that we do not overwrite the original data. Then we are running a for loop on the list that we have created earlier, which only contains the categorical column names. And then we are just calling our function and passing the data and the variable name. And here we can see that our function has printed out 3 dictionary because we have passed 3 categorical columns, and the values are given as follows. So missing is assigned 0, grvl assigned 1, pave is assigned 2, and for other variable you can see as well. And let's talk about how these values are being assigned. So the function went through the column, then it first encountered missing and it assigned it 0. Then it encountered grvl and it assigned it 1, and so on and so forth. So you can see that here we are not using any kind of business logic. It's kind of first come first serve basis thing. So now let's see the data, and here you can see that we have numerical values and they are mapped using the dictionary that we have printed out. Next, we are going to see how the business logic kind of encoding works. I mean, it will be straightforward, but the trick is the analysis part here. So the additional thing that you have to do is the analysis. And obviously, we are not going to do that. We are going to skip the analysis here. I'll directly show you how to implement once we have the, you can say, ranking, or once we have the analysis with us. So now let's imagine that you did the analysis for all the 3 variables and you find out that missing should be assigned 3, grvl should be assigned 1, and pave should be assigned 2. And so we created a dictionary based on the analysis we done for these 3 variables. So once we have the ranking based on business logic, next we are simply using the map function and passing 3 dictionary that we have created. And that's all we have to do in this technique. So let me show you both the data. And now here you can see that at place of missing, we have 3 and so on and so forth. The way we have defined the ranking, you can see that in this data. Now again, whatever we did may seems pretty dumb to you, like we didn't do anything, we just gave some ranking. But when you will be doing actual project or implementing this technique on actual data, and you have to do the analysis there, then and there things get tricky, because analysis is one of the thing that doesn't come easily. You need lots of experience in that. So that's how we implement this technique in Python, and I would suggest you to go through the sklearn implementation of this technique and try to understand it as well. You can read the documentation is very good there. So that's all for this video, and if you're new to this channel, please do like and subscribe and press the bell icon for the future updates. So I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye, stay safe and wear a mask.